Hello, welcome once again to the J Lowe Artist YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me on this artistic journey. And today we'll be working with colored pencils. So you'll need your number 2 or HB pencil, kneaded eraser, and some good quality colored pencils. So I'd like to thank you for being here today and drawing along with me. It's always nice to have people to draw with. We're going to draw with our Crayola colored pencils. But we're going to start out with our number 2 pencil and just do our simple shapes. And just like when we drew with ink, everything that we draw with this pencil gets erased. I'm just going to start out and say, well, here's his head. Here's this kind of blocky shape here. It doesn't have to be square. When we talk about simple shapes, somebody said, well, if you do a square, I'm like, it's not really a square, it's square-ish. So that square helps you define the shape you want, the size you want it, okay, your composition. And then it's kind of rounded out. There's kind of a rounded edge at the bottom. His nose is kind of rectangular, kind of large shape there for the nose. So it's kind of rectangular. And if you don't get all his ear in the page, that's okay. You got some large ears. I'm just going to throw those in. There's an eye there. Somewhere over here, there's an eye. Right in there somewhere. Once you start throwing in all those things, then you start comparing. Well, where's this compared to that? You just start throwing those things in. Remember, everything that we're drawing gets erased. Just put them in where you think they go. Start lining things up. This is called proportioning. When you start lining things up, like the edge of his eye to the corner of his nose, or where his mouth is. Like if you go straight down from the edge of his eye, that's about where the corner of his mouth is. So you just start kind of comparing things. That comparison called proportioning. And if you take a little bit of time to do it right this way, it's going to save you time in the end. Because eventually you're going to get to that point where you look at it and go, oh, that's not right. And then if you have to change it, that's where all your time is wasted. Been there, done that. Would like to save you that heartache. Once you've drawn it so it's fairly correct, then get rid of the things that aren't right. Eventually everything's going to get rid of anyway, but what's going to be fun is all that texture in his nose. I'll show you an easy way to do that. So once you get to this point, you've got everything pretty much how you want it, where you want it. Then you decide on your colors. What kind of colors do you want to use in here? You can look at your reference, your scrap. I personally, when I draw in color, I like to change my scrap to black and white, because then I'm not so influenced by color. But for you guys, I want to point out some things, and you may say to yourself, gosh, Mr. Lowe, I don't see that color. That's okay. My mind is used to translating things into color. Remember, we're not creating a photograph. That's already been done for us. We're creating artwork. And we want to show everybody the types of colors that our world has that are sometimes unimaginable. So you get as much information as you can, but remember, all this is going to get erased. We're going to So as you draw, you may think, oh, this is too narrow, I'm going to go a little bit bigger. That's totally normal. Just go ahead and do that. So we got 24 colors, and in my opinion, that's just too many colors to worry about, you know. So let's just choose ourselves out about 8 or 10 colors and just go with those colors. White is already done for us. We might need a little bit of black, so maybe I'll choose out a little black. That might be my first one. But along with black, it's going to go purple. Definitely need purple. And definitely need blue. And maybe some, we definitely need orange, but we want, I don't know, do we want a light orange? This is a yellow orange. I like that more, I think, than the pumpkin-y orange. And then we need a red, but we don't want a fire engine red. So there's one that's called red-orange. We'd also need something like a goldenrod, some type of a yellow. But that lemony yellow, it's too yellow for me. I think this golden yellow would be a good one. There's one that's called tan, which is kind of a neutrally brown. I mean, it's a light brown, if you will. Maybe some green, maybe like a yellowy green, that yellow green. That might work. So we almost have our color wheel right there. But those few colors, what we got, 8 colors there, those should work for us. They should do the trick. I'm going to start out with violet. That's when we do all my preliminary stuff. Then we're going to get rid of our graphite. So the first thing I want to do is, this violet is kind of like ink. This is why I do ink a lot with you, is because when you start drawing, it's almost like drawing with ink. Just pick out your darkest areas and do those. And then we'll erase all that graphite and you'll have it. So I'm just going to start out with his eye. And I just kind of scribble that in. And you can start out anywhere you want to. I start out with the eye just because that's what I do. I like the eyes. Eyes are kind of your focal point. They're your emphasis. Somebody once said that the eye is the window of the soul. So I'm just going to scribble in shapes of the darkness that I see. So if it's in your, like if it's in the ear, I see it's some little dark shapes. I just do little zigzaggy kinds of lines. And just little areas that you see that are dark. Remember, don't do a line all the way around things. I'm just scribbling in areas of dark. I just pick out an area, scribble it in, move on. And if I'm not exactly right on, that's okay. This can be easily covered. We can change this if we need to. But we're going to try not to. I mean, you know, that's a waste of time. You have to change it. Get all those little shadows and things. I'm going to take those out. I don't know what to do with the top of his head is really white. So just like in ink, to just a couple little dots and dashes, little lines to say this is where the top is. Because when you finally erase that with your kneaded eraser, and I'll do that just to show you, you can still kind of see where I did the top there, just really light. If you need to change it, if that's not in the right place, that is easy to change. So what's going to happen is our colors are going to stay where the graphite leaves. And that's what we want. We want that color to still stay and the graphite to leave. And just get it as fast as you can. You know, time is money here, especially if you're doing art professionally. Just pick out a shape and draw it in. Doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to press hard either. I mean, if it's darker, you could press hard if you want to, but to begin with, eventually we'll get it that dark. And if it's hair, like on its ears, try to go in the direction that hair flows. If it's on a person, be the same thing. You just go in the direction that hair flows, and you got it. Now, the cool thing about drawing animals is a lot of people know exactly what humans look like, but when it comes to animals, not as familiar. Just do your best. But above all, have fun with it. Art should be fun. There are skills that it's teaching you, lifelong things that you'll learn from it. There's a lot of joy and happiness that you get from it. It shouldn't be drudgery. So again, if there's little areas like his back is very light right there, for the most part, leave it out. And if you get rid of that graphite, and all you have is these little tiny shapes there, at least they guide you and show you where it's at. When you get to that point and you think, okay, got enough information in there, get rid of your graphite. Yes, some of your purple will come off with your eraser. That's not a big deal. I mean, it's going to happen. That's just the way it is. You got to get rid of that graphite. Otherwise, when you start doing lighter colors, they'll mix with that graphite and become muddy. So you still have your drawing left when you're done. Now's the time to analyze it. Analyze your proportions, everything you've done. Say, okay, is that right? Is that where it needs to go? Now, a good one to use would be orange, that yellowy orange. So anything so he's very brown, but he's kind of an orangey brown. He's not a real chocolate brown or even milk chocolate. He's not that cool. He's very warm. So I'm going to start with this orange, and anywhere that he has a little bit of orangey fur, I'm going to go back over that. What am I going to get over the purple? Since purple has a lot of blue in it, yeah, it's going to kind of go gray or brown. So if you go back over some of that purple and it tones down and all of a sudden that chroma, that brilliancy is gone. Yeah, that's what it does. Awesome. We anticipated that. We knew it was going to happen. Don't be afraid to go over some of that purple. So eventually, when we start painting and we start mixing colors, I mean, this is exactly what's going to happen. You say to yourself, oh, I'm going to do some orange over the top of that blue, and it's going to go brown. And I mean, you anticipate, you know what's going to happen, because scientifically, we've all discussed that already. We know that complementary colors will tone down each other's chroma. So the theory is there. We've discussed it and we've figured that out. Now we have the practical application. We're testing our theories. Is it going to work? If it's really, really light, you may want to avoid putting any color into it until the very end. So like in the white areas, just avoid them, just leave them out. Or even over the top of his nose, there's a little highlight, a little shine on there. Got a little wet nose. It's picking up some light. Yeah, just leave it out. Although, when we get done, you'd be surprised how you look at it right now and you think, oh, that's dark enough. No, it's not. We got to really hit this with some contrast, really make it bright. Again, remember, we're creating artwork, not photographs. So look at your proportioning as well. At this point, if you need to change something, this is the time to do it. Because if you wait till we start adding the contrast, it's going to be a lot tougher to change. People often ask how I get things so smooth. This is how I do it. I start out very light. You just layer in your colors, little at a time, little at a time. And they start mixing on their own. Once they mix on their own, they'll smooth out and you get these nice even tones. I don't know, the middle of his nose is kind of dark too. I might just add a little bit of this in there, just because it's nice and warm there. A little bit, but I don't know if I want to go too far with it. Probably plenty. Again, now's the time to say, okay, what do I change? I think his face needs to go a little whiter over here. So I'm going to just add a little bit to it. With my purple. Maybe a little bit on this side too. Much easier to go bigger than it is to go smaller. So when you go smaller, you have to erase. Okay, Have you analyzed it? Have you thought to yourself, okay, that's about right. It's time to make things punch. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my black and I'm going to go into the darkest areas. There's some that are fairly dark, but not extremely dark. So the darkest areas would be the nose, a little bit in the ear, a little bit in the mouth, the eyes. So I'm just going to take my black, and remember that anything you layer into your black, you want to layer something on top of it. So it's not just black. So here goes. This black now is going to help me get my contrast, and that's what I want. I want that heavy contrast. But I don't want black just by itself. And how much you put into it is kind of up to you. You can really press hard, you can go fairly dark, or you can say, well, I can always go darker later. Again, it's kind of up to you. She's going to do a couple, like in the darkest areas of his eye, do a couple little lines there, little swirls. Here and there. Don't need a lot. But it helps to give some dimension to your fur. I do this with people's hair. You know, you can do it with all sorts of things. Just give them nice and a little bit of nice dimension to it. You want just a little bit for the dimension. So a little bit in the ears where it's really dark. Don't really have to worry about it elsewhere. Now, if you think to yourself, oh, that nose was in the wrong place, now's the time to change it. You can change it. And that purple, nobody will ever know it was there. And I'm always thinking ink when I do this. I know you guys struggled a little bit with ink, but the more you draw with ink, the better you're going to be. It just teaches you so much. Teaches you to see things. Teaches you for edges and what's important overall. But this is just going to make it pop. This is what's really going to give us our contrast. Again, I'm just picking out shapes, dark and light, throwing in those shapes. Try to go as fast as you can. Looks like he's getting ready to lick your face off. So once I get my contrast, I'm not sure there's much more of black that I need in there. That's probably enough. Blues and purples on top of that are going to be just fine. I'm going to start out with the blues in my shadows. I often know that anything that's white or very light will be very blue in the shadows. Now I added some orange to that already, and so that's going to end up being kind of a neutral, a gray or a brown. So if you go over the orange with your blue, that's what's going to happen to it. You just know that's what's going to happen. little bit of blue up in that white, just a little, just enough that you can say, well, I can see where that white is. Just a little bit here and there. Remember, we're not trying to match the colors that we see, we're just trying to match the values. And don't be afraid to just leave some little streaky areas in there, you know, that's okay. Trying with the side of my pencil more than I am with the tip. All that white underneath that's in shadow is going to be cool in color. So blues and purples. Just scribble in that color. How about some yellow? Any place that's warm, put some yellow in there. So what's going to happen to it if you go over the blue? Yellow and blue make green, exactly. So we're going to get this happenstantial color, this color that just all of a sudden happens, and it's going to be green. Nothing wrong with that. Because we're going to go over this again with a little bit of red, and red and green are complementary colors. They'll cancel each other out, but you'll see hints of those colors all the way through. Some of this color under here is very warm. I'm going to use my yellow in that warm color area. It's a reflection of grass, I'm sure of it, up into his mouth there and underneath his chin, or her chin. So that was easy. That yellow, you just kind of go everywhere with it. Just warms up everything. Over the top of the blue, it turns green. Over the top of the purple, it kind of goes brown. Just having fun with that. Maybe a little red now into that. Red over the yellow is going to turn orange. Over the blue, it's going to go purple. And you don't need it everywhere, just here and there. What's going to happen to it over the green? It's going to go kind of a brownish, kind of a brown red. So all these things are happening with these colors. Red in there. I'm going to take this red in his nose. I'm going to do these little kind of swirly areas like this. You don't have to go around everything, but just to create that texture, just little swirls, and it's kind of random. So I'm not following exactly what I see, just little swirls, kind of random. Some of that blue that I had in there, the red's going to go over that, and it's going to become this kind of a purpley red. Where my little gaps are, if I go in there, then you'll see little flecks of purple through it, which are nice. A little shine right above his nose, right in there. You want to kind of leave that out. You could go into it a little bit, but just for the most part, leave it out. Just layer in those colors, keeping in mind that you're going as dark as you need to go to keep the values correct. It's the values that are most important here. I really am just scribbling in the color. Trying to stay in the areas that I need to. Feels right. I feel like I need to put that in there. Go for it. So I'm going to go over the black with the purple, and I'm going to really press hard. I want to get that black to come through and to give me some contrast. Now, there's a little bit of yellow there, so if I go over that yellow, all of a sudden, it's going to kind of go this tannish brown. But hopefully the purple is going to be more dominant. So I've got some pressure that I'm putting on here. That nice purple is going to be nice and cool. It's going to mix with the reds. It's going to mix with the blues. Remember your values. Look how much reflected light there is in the nostril. And that purple is just mixing all those colors that were underneath and creating that dark value that we need. I'm also going to use this purple and intensify some of those little red shapes that I stuck in there. Just a few. They're kind of random, but I can even shade some of those things in just a little bit. Leave a little bit of light out. Should be this kaleidoscope of color that comes through. It's just amazing and fun. I tell you, once you start coloring, shading with color, you start seeing colors all over your world. You'll just all of a sudden look up at the sky and go, wow, look at that magenta. Or, I often think, how would I paint that? Sometimes I'll see skies and I think, gosh, if I painted that, they'd look at it and say, those skies don't look like that. It's like, yeah, here it is. So use that purple to your advantage. Give it some pressure. Because if you decide to do other colors, over the top of that, purple will take anything. It'll take blues, it'll take greens, it'll take red. And depending on if you go up towards the reds, purple will turn more red. If you go up towards the greens, it'll turn more blue. This is where having a little background on the science of color is important. Then you know what to anticipate. You know what's going to happen. We're just going to add a little bit of this orangey red to the nose just to warm that up a little bit. But from here on out, really, you just kind of go back and forth and say, you know, need a little of this or a little of that. And you just keep taking whatever colors you feel like you need, keeping in mind the values. I haven't used that tan yet. I'm going to try it over some of these things. See if I can't blend some of those colors together using the tan. That's kind of nice. So I really am just kind of scribbling over this because I've already got some of those dark colors in there. They'll just mix. Some of the last colors you layer into it, you got to press kind of hard. And that will smooth them all out, blend them all together. Colored pencils are very translucent. So they're going to pick up the colors that are underneath. Kind of just go crazy with this. It's kind of like when you were a little kid, you know, and you were drawing and you just found a coloring book or something. You just went crazy with color. It's crazy in a controlled way. You know, now that we know what's going to happen with colors, now that we're adult enough to figure that out, some of that blue needs to be a little dominant, just here and there. We'll go back into some of the little areas that needed that blue. Blue and orange are complementary colors. So the blue over the top of the yellow, it's going to turn more green. Blue over the top of the orange is going to turn a little brown. Over the purple is going to go a little more blue violet. I mean, there's all sorts of things happening with colors. And if you take a little extra time, you can make this extremely realistic if you want to. This is purple. I'm just going back over some of the things with purple. You probably find that I do a lot with purple. It's because it's so versatile. You can do lots of things with it. I just want to get my values correct. We didn't have to use brown. We still ended up with those nice creamy yellowy browns. There's so much to color that you can do with it. What's the last thing you're going to do to this? Sign it. You got to sign it, right? So a good place for a signature is about down there. You could sign it over there too, but I think about right down in there. Remember, don't put it right on the edge. It needs to be up where you can see it. Hey, thanks for being here today and coming on this little journey with me. Because art is awesome. Art makes life better. Art makes life better. I hope you all have a lovely weekend too.